because of the 7 deadly sins, greed is the one I understand the least. I really don't.
Yeah.
And I'm
all the way in on, but greed doesn't do it for me.
Oh, trust, yeah, lust, sloth, gluttony, pride.
And I don't mean just like in like food, but like, yeah, if something's in front of me that I want, I'll glutton that shit right down my throat. But like the greed, the holding it, the having the money, having the cake doesn't make sense to me. I just want to eat it.
Exactly. Oh, that's great. That's great. That's really good. That like pride is my deadly sin. I have,
we know, TJ.
Yeah, right. My head can't fit through the door. Yeah, I'm very open about that. Greed, I don't get. And I think it's both of you kind of alluded to this about like whether or not you need the money and how that shapes your mind. So I didn't grow up poor at all. And I wasn't rich. My dad was in the military or whatever, but we were always comfortable. And dad was a small business owner when I was like in 8th or 9th grade. And so I was always, I never wanted for anything. So now as an adult, I'm living a comfortable life myself. John and I talk about this sometimes, like where you put yourself like economically. And I always was like, I'm not rich, but I might as well be, is how I put it. In that I never worry about my bills being paid, which is like all the peace of mind you want. And if I want to buy something, I just do. I don't really think about it. So the idea of like, I need to fuck people over to have more money that I don't need makes no sense to me. It really doesn't. I don't understand. Yeah. Like if I was worried about the survival of like my kids or my family or whatever, yeah, all right, I'll cut corners all day long because better them than me, honestly. It's like I need to take care of my people, and capitalism does drive you to do that. But since I'm not in that position, I guess I have the luxury of not having to worry about that and not understanding greed. I don't know. That's just how I look at it, because if I like did like your buddy Rio was like, oh man, look at this. I'm quintupling my investment here every month. They're just sending in all this cash and everything. I wouldn't like that. It's like, I don't need this money and I know what it's doing to these folks, and my life isn't that much better. Like I'm still essentially the same person. I just have more money now, and I'm not motivated by that.
It was a 21-year-old kid, and he had like
40... already. Wow. Whew.
Yeah, bro. And he had like 45 of these houses.
Where do you get the money?
So he just kept rolling. If you buy a house, after a couple of years, you can refinance it, pull money back out, buy another house. Mm-hmm. Then you refinance that one and pull. And so he was just doing it, and he got faster and faster and faster. It's just a series of financial tricks, to be honest, and tax loopholes, until you have this 21-year-old partying college student with 45 houses of poor families. And the guy was a millionaire already. And he was just doing this shit in different communities. And I was just so blown away by that. It's crazy.
Oh, I don't know. All right, that was good. That was good, folks. That was good. Really impromptu segment. Yeah. Right. I wanted to bring something up. I couldn't really fit in the conversation here, but John, you had talked about your bosses, and like in the past, if people's bosses were less, corporate-y in their speak and more authentic and everything, and you asked what our experience was, and I was thinking, well, I was in the military, and those folks weren't like corporate speaky at all. They're a little bit today. In the past, they weren't that way. Like over the last 5 years, the military has become more professional. But even when I had joined, it was still, swearing and calling people queers and stuff. Like that's just how it was. And I do have to say, though, that I remember talking to our battalion executive officer. And I was speaking to him about, his career and everything. And he said that he was in the Army for a few years, and he got out and went into the civilian world, and he came back to the Army, which is kind of rare, right? Like it happens, but you're like, once people are out, it's hard to get back in. They're usually injured and stuff, and it's the whole process. And it's like, well, why'd you do that? He says, well, the reason I did is because the leadership of the Army actually does care about you. It's hard to, it's shocking to hear this. It actually is shocking to hear this, but
the fact that I understand exactly what he's saying and how shocking it is to hear that is a really interesting feeling.
Here's what he pointed out is
I've never heard that before in my whole life.
But it makes sense. Makes sense. Finish the statement, TJ.
Here's what I'm saying is that let's say you are a squad leader in the Army, right? You're a sergeant, and you've got, 8 people that you're directly responsible for. And one of them is trying to make sergeant. And if you you're graded as a leader on the performance of your subordinates, right? So if your subordinate is, getting drunk and beating his wife and failing his qualifications, that's going to reflect on you as a leader. And so you make damn sure that this person has taken their classes, this person is training, this person's in shape, this person is like you do counselings once a month to make sure that everything's all right with their family and their finances. You make sure they are squared the fuck away. When they have a dental appointment, you say, did you go to your dental appointment? Yeah, you make sure all this is taken care of. Conversely, you also want this person to succeed themselves, because if your soldier makes sergeant, they just move them out of the section and make them so they're not competition for you anymore. It's like, hey, because my soldier made sergeant, that means you're really good. We're going to give you a promotion. But in the corporate world, it doesn't work that way, because your boss doesn't really want you to rival them, because they're not just going to move you. You're going to be their competition once they get promoted. And so the Army was different that way. And that, I got to say, I never had a commander or a executive that wasn't deeply interested in making my career a success. Like, they would go out of their way and say, hey, we need to send you to these schools. We need to train you here, because it made them look good too. Now, once again, not everyone has this experience. I understand. But for the most part, people in the military, they know what I'm saying, that your boss, now that doesn't mean they're nice to you. It doesn't mean that they like you, but they will make sure that you're professionally squared away, because it makes them look good too. It's a weird thing, but it is absolutely true in the military. I just want to bring that up. You can see why I didn't talk about it in the last segment. It doesn't really fit anywhere, but I just want to bring that with John asking about how it was, in the days and before now we were working.
The more and more I think about this, TJ, like I'm not someone who often says I feel like I have the silver bullet right answers. I'm very much like someone. No, I will say I have the right answers, but I often say, like, hey, there's like so much nuance here. There's like all of these different competing factors, but I have like been developing ever since, and even before the loss, but like ever since then, that like this authenticity thing is at the fucking core of a lot of our problems on an interpersonal level. And what you're saying though, TJ, like, you're in the military. Like, this is literally a thing you're signing up for, knowing they could send you to fucking die.
Mm-hmm.
And that is true. And yet this person had this experience where they're like, you know what? I just feel that the people who are willing to send me to die care more about me than this corporate world does. And it's true.
It's true.
100% true. They definitely, like, and you're right. It is an incentive structure thing, TJ. But also, like, think about the military. There's obviously, you can start at different points, but everyone's got to roll through the shit in the military.
Yep.
Like, there's no one in senior levels of military leadership that didn't have to start relatively low down and have to experience everything. No one just gets hired as the fucking general of the United States Army. You have to go through the shit. As you were alluding to that, Rio, your buddy didn't do anything. He just bought a couple houses, did some financial tricks, and became a millionaire. And you know what? He can probably parlay that into a fucking board seat somewhere and be in charge of this company, even though he never fucking worked a day in his life. He's now in charge of this corporation, and he doesn't give a flying fuck about the people working for it. He just cares about the numbers at the end of the day and how it affects him. And that's a problem that we all suffer from every day. Every single person in America suffers from that on some level. And when we see it reflected back to us in our politicians, we fucking hate them. And that, to me, more than anything else, is why Donald Trump appeals to so many Americans. Yes, some of them like him because he's an asshole. But I do think that part of the world is pretty small. And I think most of people like him because he's authentic. And when Democrats do things that are inauthentic, it turns people the fuck off. The person, again, like I said it as a joke, but it's kind of true. It doesn't matter whether Joe Biden is right and Democrats are right. It doesn't matter if their policy is actually improving people's lives, because they're fucking lying. And they are assuming that we just shouldn't care because that's what they've always done. And that is going to turn me off more than your fucking tax policy. It really is. As someone who fucking cares about this, I get more pissed about what you just fucking did with TikTok. I guess that did personally affect me, so never mind. But like, I get more pissed about like what you fucking lied and manipulated everyone with Gaza than I do about the actual fucking ramifications of what you did and the thousands of lives that it cost. And yeah, like morally, that I don't feel good about myself for that. But if I just judge my own just fucking knee-jerk reaction, that's the kind of shit that gets my fucking heart beating and makes me want to punch you in the face. And that's just reality. Like, it just is. And I'm someone who does care. So imagine someone who doesn't give a shit about the children dying in Gaza or hasn't even fucking heard about it. They're still going to hear you fucking lie to them and assume that they should be okay with it. And that's going to piss them off. And that I feel like does really get at the heart of what a lot of our problems are in this country. And, you know, honestly, like the first world in general.